Baby, yeah, that sick beat. You know what that means. That means it is time for RotoGrinders Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel. It's the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz, helping you out, walking you through the slate, generally up through lock, although on this smaller slate, we'll get you around lock. We'll see how much content we have here. But thrilled to be joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got one, Mr. Dave Potts, a.k.a. Cheese is Good. What up, Cheese?
Oh, man, it's a thrilling day. The 4-gamer and the 3-gamer. I'll tell you, though, what really gets you going, like people who are watching the show and get the pregame hype music probably don't realize that behind the scenes, like we're just really getting into it, building up the energy. Kevin Roth can really bust some moves, as they say.
If plied with alcohol, I sure can. I'll tell you that. You see, I love my guy, Dean. Usually we get introduced like on the back of another show that Dean is hosting, Grinders Live. And I love Dean. There's nothing wrong with Dean. He's fantastic, but he just can't compete with that intro music, you know?
Yeah, when Dean sings for you, it doesn't get you quite as going.
It doesn't get me quite as hyped coming in after, the show. I like the intro music. We're ready to bring the goods, not just with the 2-time Millie winner, Dave Potts, but also with my guy, TJ, up in Saskatoon, Canada. How you doing, TJ?
Doing very well. I feel like I missed you guys. I haven't been on in a few days, but no Monday, no Tuesday. No Tuesday, no Wednesday, but I am ready to be back on these little mini slates we got on Thursday. I'm going to see Across the Spider-Verse tonight, and I am so wildly excited for this movie. First one is one of the best comic book movies ever, and apparently the second one is even better.
So I was going to say, these are the animated Spider-Mans, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard great things. I never saw it, but I heard it was amazing.
Yeah, it was like first one is one of the best animated movies ever, the best Spider-Man movie ever, one of the best comic book movies, and apparently the second one knocks it out of the park. On Letterboxd right now, which is like a movie reviewing app, it's the 4th highest rated movie ever. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, so I'm pretty excited for tonight. But in the meantime, ready to talk some baseball. Got some Spidey bombs for the people. First one coming at 50 likes. And hopefully we can find some ways to make some money today.
50 likes. That's easy peasy. This show, as I mentioned, is free. That's a big shout out. Thanks to our sponsor, Fanduel. Make sure you're signing up for the Fanduel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get the no sweat first bet up to $2,500 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. I got to double check and make sure that's right, because that's up. So, Steve, if you're watching,
I believe your mic is going wonky, Roth. So I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah, it's either a connection thing
while you figure it out. I got a bone to pick with you anyways, because today it's June 1st. It is the final month of my 20s. I turned 30 on June 30th. And I'm seeing these pics of you from your family vacation here, a man in your 30s just looking absolutely shredded. And so, as you know, back in the day, in my earlier 20s and mid 20s, I was a pretty heavy gym goer, and I've let myself go a little bit in the last year or two here since I've become a married man. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna work out. Roth's looking good. I have a couple of friends who want to do a push-up challenge for June. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to do a workout. And just kind of like being the idiot that I am, I did like similar things to what I would have done when I was working out all the time. And so just like in terms of the amount of sets and the amount of reps, not heavy weights, but the amount of sets and reps. And my God, it's like there are knives where my arms connect to like where my biceps connect to my forearms, right where the elbow is, just from like the different bicep things I did. I am in so much pain, and that was 3 days ago.
Bro, this is why I don't work out, for safety.
That's a good move. That's the right choice. Yeah, the first few back are tough, man. You got to start slow. But we are not starting slow here on this grind, on this DFS grind. The reason that people are tuned in. Thanks, TJ. By the way, I've been working hard. I was getting ready for that photo shoot with my fam, so I was trying to get pumped for it. But let's dive into this slate. Hopefully, my audio is somewhat better. Let's talk pitchers.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. All right. Cheese, you want to walk me through the slate and or dive into pitchers?
Yeah. So big picture on the slate. we don't have lineups for Rockies Diamondbacks. We may or may not get them before lock, and that's Arizona's probably the chalk of the whole slate. And with it being a day game after a night game, there's a reasonable chance we get some sort of nonsense in one or both of those lineups. So just make sure you keep an eye on that.
Okay.
So essentially 4 games with 4 or 5 good pitchers. Like there's a lot of good pitching. These first 3 games are all good pitchers. You could make a case to play every single one of them. I don't think the way salary works, I don't think you need to mess with Taijuan Walker and either of the pitchers in the Arizona game. But that leaves Kevin Gausman as the great chalk, the good matchup, and then Scherzer, Luzardo, Peralta, Musgrove, all solid plays, with Musgrove being noticeably cheap given the matchup. So I think, for lineups that need salary, I think Musgrove is the other kind of popular pitcher. Like on FanDuel, Gausman's a little tough. If you play Musgrove, you can play whatever you want. And then Max Scherzer, who finally looked like Max Scherzer last time, he's a little too cheap, even if he's kind of mostly Max Scherzer. And then I don't think you can forget about Luzardo. Like he's also really good. So for me, I do think you're okay to basically forget about Freddie Peralta. Theoretically, he has upside as well, but like this is so many good pitchers on a small slate. I don't want to just play all of them.
Right.
So Gausman, Scherzer, Luzardo, Musgrove. Gausman chalk, but it's good chalk. I think Luzardo will be the kind of forgotten one, so I'll play a little more of him. But really, all 4 of them are very good and very fairly priced. Like other than Gausman, like it's not hard to get them at all. So I'm basically with the field on the level of Gausman chalk and then splitting up the other 3.
Okay. Very good. TJ, what are your thoughts here as far as tournament goes? Is it those 4 guys for you?
Yeah, regardless of how many lineups I'd be playing, it's still just those 4 guys. I'm playing 1, but even if I was playing 150, it would be Gausman, Luzardo, Scherzer, and Musgrove. The salary on Musgrove is just too good to pass up for me. It's a matchup against Miami. It's in a good pitching park. He's like, I really like the idea of going to him as an SP2 today, or even as an SP1 on FanDuel. The Scherzer chalk is probably going to be the one I'd be the most underweight on of the 4. Like he's still one of only 4 pitchers in my pool, so I'm going to get to him a lot. But it's a very left-handed heavy lineup for Philadelphia, and a lot of those guys like Schwarber and Harper are very dangerous left-handed hitters as well. So he's the one of the 3 I'd try outside of the 4 I'd try and go underweight on. And then Luzardo would be the one I'd try and be most overweight on for tournaments. I'd basically just swap Scherzer and Luzardo's projected ownership right now and just do the opposite. That's kind of what I would do in tournaments if I was running 150 lineups, and then just go pretty even on Musgrove and Gausman, maybe a little over on Musgrove as well. The biggest thing I'm struggling with right now in my tournament lineup is, do I want to go with Gausman and a punt hitter, or a better hitter and Luzardo? The price tag and the difference on DraftKings, just it's such a 9-1 to 10-6. It's very valuable on this small slate. And so that's something that I'm trying to figure out right now, is which one of those 2 I want to go with.
Okay, very good. Let's dive into the bats, and in particular some of the stacks. TJ, you can lead it off with where we're going. And I think, Cheese, you kind of said Arizona was the chalk of the slate.
Yes.
Arizona's the chalk. We are still waiting on that lineup. They are my favorite team on the slate. They're the mini stack in my lineup right now. Although if I went the Luzardo route, it would end up being a 4-4 as opposed to a 5-3. But Arizona's 1 for me. Toronto is number 2. We're also at 50 likes. And so it's time for the first Spidey bomb, and it's Bo Bichette. You can find Bo for plus 540 over on FanDuel. And I love plus 520 over on FanDuel. And I love him as a DFS play as well. And so Bo Bichette is Spidey bomb number 1 going up against Peralta. Peralta can be really good. but he can also get rocked. And so I really like the Blue Jays today. They come in second. Mets are probably third, followed by the Phillies as my favorite fourth tournament stack in large field stuff. And I think if I was playing more lineups today, that's what I would be trying to do to get different from the field, get a little bit more overweight on Philly. Maybe not even necessarily as a full stack, but running something like a Harper Schwarber Marsh or a Stott Schwarber Harper, something like that, I think is very interesting for tournaments today.
Very good. Cheese, what are you stacking up?
Yeah, the top 2/3 are very obvious. It's Arizona 1, and then Toronto and the Mets. Kind of close. You can flip or flop them, but I like Toronto ahead of the Mets. And then I go to Colorado next for the something not really sneaky, but lower owned.
Okay. Well, let's dive into it position by position. I know we don't have officially some of the lineups out, but I assume we'll just kind of go with what we've got projected, Cheese.
Yeah, it's just that because it's a Thursday day game, like something funny is going to happen in one of these lineups. Like so somebody good will be out. But yeah, let's just assume they all play. You really don't need any catcher anywhere outside of a full stack on FanDuel. On DK, Francisco Alvarez is the guy I like the most. He's fairly priced, pretty good. If Elias Diaz is in the lineup, he's one of the ones like I have no idea. I need to see the lineup, and it's tough because we may not get it before lock. And then I've just got all that money sitting at the catcher spot that I can't do anything with if he's out of the lineup, but I'm still playing him. Gary Sanchez is back in the world. Hitting
hit a bomb last night, right?
San Diego. Yeah. I mean, he's still got power. So I do think he's a viable tournament play.
Okay. TJ?
One thing before I go to catcher, I think something that is very important to note. The roof is open in Toronto, and it's 83 degrees in Toronto right now. Is there any wind there or anything like that? It doesn't have that on my hourly forecast app. Obviously, I can only look at temperature, but what's the hitting weather looking like in Toronto?
I mean, you mentioned the temperature is fantastic, and the roof open in general is very helpful. Let me quickly see if there's any winds worth noting. No, winds are light, negligible, but the game time temperature is going to be in the low 80s, so that's pretty good stuff.
And getting warmer as the afternoon goes on there in Toronto too. Cheese, does that affect your? Obviously, Gaussman is still like the number one optimal guy, but does that affect what you want to do in tournaments at all?
No.
Yeah.
He's so much about the strikeouts, and like this Milwaukee team just isn't good enough to worry me about it.
So that makes you okay with my choice to go Gaussman and Biggio over Pavin Smith and Luzardo.
Yeah.
Good. I rarely change things when I ask these QQs to the other hosts, but it makes me feel a lot better when they're on the same page with what I'm already doing in my lineups. At catcher today, like it's kind of a punt spot for me. I do like the idea of going with a Tyler Heineman on DraftKings where he's min price batting for the Blue Jays today. If it is Herrera catching for Arizona, you can roll with him, or you can roll with obviously Gabriel Moreno. I think he becomes one of the better catchers on the slate if it happens to be him in there instead of Herrera. She's mentioned Gary Sanchez. I think he's a strong tournament play, but I think my kind of favorite individual one, or if I was playing cash, would be Francisco Alvarez.
All right, first base, TJ.
Pete Alonso, I think, is probably the top play. I like if you're looking at raw points. Vladdy Guerrero, I'd be very interested in as well. But I think the best overall play here from a point per dollar standpoint, and just who I like the most, as long as he's in the lineup, is Christian Walker. I do think this is a spend up spot at first base today. You could go to somebody like a Brandon Dixon batting fifth against Luzardo if you needed a punt, but I'd much rather go with Alonso, Guerrero, or primarily Walker.
Cheats?
Yeah, Alonso, Guerrero, and Walker are three of the best players on the whole slate. And when you add in Harper on FanDuel at first, I think it makes it a two first baseman in most FanDuel lineups. The punts, I think I would just save for DraftKings. Like when Walker and Vlad are only 33 and 34 on FanDuel, just play them. So yeah, like Pavin Smith, more interesting on the DK side.
And he is outfield eligible on FanDuel for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And on DraftKings.
And yeah, feel free to, just use super dirt cheap players here or there, but I would rather do it with like Biggio at second than with Brandon Dixon at first.
Okay. Well, speaking of second, Cheese, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Assuming Ketel Marte is in the lineup, like he's very clearly the top guy, especially on FanDuel. I do like Ryan McMahon a good bit, and he's both McMahon and Ha-Seong Kim are second base on FanDuel, but not on DK. So it's a pretty big difference between the sites. So between Marte, McMahon, Kim, and Stott on FanDuel, or Jeff McNeil in Met stacks, I don't think you need to goof around with the cheap stuff. But this is a spot to goof around on DK with like a $2,100 Kevin Biggio. Maybe if Harold Castro's in the lineup, you play him. Like it's tough to get to Marte at 52 in a lot of lineups. So I don't think you have to do it, but he is certainly the best play.
Okay, TJ.
Apologies for going on a bit of a tangent before every time I go position by position here, but I want to amend something I said at Pitcher today, especially if you're playing a lot of lineups. Mm-hmm. On FanDuel, don't do it because you can just get whoever you want with Musgrove anyways. On DraftKings, especially if you're playing a lot of lineups, I actually think you can play Zach Davies. It's a small slate. He's terrible, but it's Colorado outside of Coors. We still don't have a lineup, but Chris Bryant just got placed on the 10-day injured list. So we know he's not going to be in the lineup. CJ Cron's already out. Especially if you happen to get something funky like Blackman, McMahon, or Grichuk not being in there. I think that even amps up that more. But I think even if I was playing 20 lineups, I would probably have a Zach Davies team or two in there because he's going to be low owned and he's facing a terrible team.
Okay. All right. Interesting note. All right. Your thoughts at second, TJ?
Yeah, so at second base, as long as he's in the lineup, Ketel Marte is my favorite here by a fairly wide margin. Jeff McNeil, if you need to go cheaper, I think is the next option. If Josh Rojas is in the lineup, I think he's interesting. And then Bryson Stott, I like for tournaments as well. But it's a pretty gross position overall in terms of depth, and Marte is, I think, by far the top one.
All right, third base, TJ.
Ryan McMahon up top at 4.6, I think is interesting. Brett Beatty, if you need to save salary at 3.2, I think would be my favorite one. There are like a couple punt options, like a Sosa or Brian Anderson you could use at third, but I don't think I'm interested in doing that. Ha-Seong Kim is batting leadoff against Luzardo. If I'm going like straight up salary, like salary doesn't matter, I think I would maybe take him over Beatty. But I do really like Beatty today. And my favorite for tournaments is going to be Matt Chapman.
All right, Cheese.
Matt Chapman, also my favorite overall. And then Ryan McMahon, if in the lineup, is my other favorite. And they're kind of the only even spend up options. Everyone else is pretty cheap. Beatty, Kim. I will play a little Nolan Jones as well on FanDuel. And that's it. It's a thin position.
Yeah. All right. Take me to shortstop, Cheese.
Another thin position, more so on DK, because you do have Tatis on FanDuel as usual, which helps a lot. I think Lindor, Tatis, Trey Turner, Bichette, and Bogarts all kind of split up the ownership. I mean, that's 5 players who are all pretty good. I would say, just play Tatis if you can afford him. But I think the higher salary on Bichette keeps him a little under the radar, makes me like him even more. He's also – the prices are condensed on DK, but Bichette is the most expensive and really my favorite overall anyway, even before accounting for maybe he'll be slightly lower owned because of the salary. But essentially, Lindor, Turner, Bichette, Bogarts are all just kind of jumbled together both salary wise and ownership wise. But yeah, give me Bichette first.
We did just get that Colorado lineup, and I think that it really affirms the you can play Zach Davies thing for me. Blackman, Profar, McMahon, Diaz, Castro, Moustakas, Jones, Doyle, Tovar. No Grichuk in there today on top of Blackman. Or sorry, on top
Cheese.
of
Cheese, does that change anything?
Yeah, a little bit. So you did say Diaz is in there, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so no, it doesn't change. I'll have to move some Grichuk out of my lineups, obviously, because he's not playing. But yeah, I mean, they're a clear tier below Arizona, Toronto, and the Mets.
Gotcha. All right. I think we were at shortstop. Is it TJ's turn there at short? Yeah.
Yeah, at shortstop, I obviously love the Spidey Bomb, Bo Bichette. He's my favorite for tournaments. Francisco Lindor, I think, is the optimal choice, but I do love a pivot to Bogarts. As long as he's in the lineup, Geraldo Perdomo is probably my next favorite at that position. And if I'm taking a shot on somebody in tournaments, like I'm fine with Bogarts or Turner, but I don't really want to punt with one of these random guys.
Okay, take me to the outfield, TJ.
Outfield today, Corbin Carroll is going to be my favorite. Obviously, if you can get up to Tatis there on DraftKings, I think that's fine. These Philly guys in tournaments, Harper and Soto, I think are very interesting. Nimmo and Springer, these guys are fine. But Dalton Varsho's price on DraftKings at 3.4 really stands out. So I think he's probably like a cash game outfielder today and somebody that I really like in tournaments. As long as McCarthy and Pavin Smith are in the lineup, they're great salary saving options. And so I kind of go, it's like Arizona and Toronto are the main places I'm trying to go here. And then Philly.
Cheese outfield.
I like Harper and Schwarber, even in Scherzer lineups. This is definitely I will play a guy against a pitcher slate. Same with I will play Tatis against Luzardo. Assuming Jake McCarthy's in, I would call him my favorite for the salary option in really any format. Like, and on FanDuel, like Corbin Carroll and is so cheap, not so cheap, but they're all so cheap. But 36 is too cheap in my opinion. To go like with him, and maybe you do 3 Arizona outfielders like Smith, McCarthy, Carroll. Schwarber looks way too cheap, but I would still rather play Bryce Harper or Tatis. And like if you're playing Musgrove, the $700 is kind of no issue at all. So I kind of prefer spending up just because you can. But if you're playing a Gausman lineup, then you're probably playing Schwarber, Varsho, McCarthy, that kind of stuff. But I would much rather just spend up a little bit because they're just not that expensive. Yeah. On the DK side, like Tatis is 6,100. That does count as expensive. Harper at 57. I don't love it there. I do like more like, Brendan Nimmo type plays are a little more viable. But yeah, the Arizona, again, no lineup, but McCarthy, Pavin Smith, that kind of stuff is fantastic.
Okay, very good. Let's take some QQs here. We got Amateur Hour in the RG Discord. By the way, make sure you're hitting us with that thumbs up. If we get 100, you get a second Spidey Bomb. You already got your first, which was Bo Bichette, I do believe. DK single entry GPP. Cheese, I'll give this one to you. It's a 3v3. Clemens, Witt, Lindor, or Pavin, Cavan, and Bichette.
Pavin, Cavan, Bichette.
Okay, a little Pavin and Cavan action. Shannon says, the low-owned Rockies seem kind of nice to me. Who or whom is worse, Zach Davies or Connor Siebold? I guess you think Connor Siebold.
I mean, Siebold is worse.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're the two worst pitchers on the slate.
Yeah. Siebold is worse. Davies is still really bad. The difference kind of is for me that Davies is going up again. And so, again, I'm saying this is like somebody, if I was MMEing, I'd have 10 to 15% of, maybe 20 max. But I think the reason I'm considering Davies and not Siebold is even though Davies is almost as bad as Siebold, the Rockies lineup is a lot worse than the Arizona lineup. The Rockies lineup that they have out has a 25% strikeout rate, whereas Arizona's is only 21.
Okay, very good. Cheese, I love these kind of game theory questions. Tankenstein, who, by the way, just re-signed up for RotoGrinders Premium, I do believe, says, on a slate like this, are you going out of your way to double stack? I find myself just picking random one-offs a lot. Am I doing it wrong?
No, I very much go out of my way not to double stack, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's see, scrolling down. How do you feel about some moose tacos? It is not Tuesday, but we'll still eat some moose tacos. TJ, Thursday tacos for you?
Yeah, I think he's fine as a one-off.
All right. Favorite SP in a Fanduel single entry? Cheese, playing Fanduel single entry, there's some good choices there.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of can't go wrong with the top four. I think I'd say Lizardo, though, just because he's kind of the weirdest one at that price point.
Yeah. All right. Bill T says, could Roth confirm
Musgrove for me too, because he's just so cheap, and he's projecting at sub 20%, which is small for a 4-game slate. So I agree with Cheese, either Lizardo or Musgrove for me.
Very good. Bill T says, could Roth confirm that dry heat is a very real thing? Low humidity makes the air feel much cooler than it is on hot days. That's very true. But when people talk about like the summers in Vegas or in Arizona and it's 115 and they're like, but it's a dry heat, it is still brutally hot. Like the dry heat can still be really, really hot. And you see that in the desert Southwest all the time.
I'm not sure if to make that relevant to this slate, obviously Roth, you'd know better than I, but if I'm not mistaken, Toronto is usually very wet heat. And so ball should be flying there today.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about very wet. It ain't like Houston level, but yes, it's not as dry as like some West Coast spots.
I just take it like their winters compared to ours are so much, like they get so much more precipitation.
Yes.
And it's just like a lot wetter over there.
Yes,
they're so close to Great Lakes and stuff like that. So
yes, compared to Saskatoon. Yeah, it's all relative, you know.
Yeah,
talking Houston compared to Saskatoon.
I'm learning.
Yeah, very good. Let's see if we got a few more QQs before we bounce here. DK Cash, here we go. If I can only afford one of Carroll or Ketel Marte from Arizona, which one do you like in cash, Cheese?
That's a tricky answer because I definitely prefer Carroll straight up. But the outfield is so much better than second base. Like it depends on your build. If you're just asking who do I like better, Marte or Carroll, it's Carroll. I think Carroll scores more points than Marte. But I think Marte might be more valuable at second base.
Okay, good answer. This may be our last question because we've caught up on all of them. So Michael says Toronto or New York Mets as a stack. TJ? Toronto it is.
Never the Mets, right, Steve?
Rude.
Never.
All right. Hey, guys, I think with that, we have answered all the questions. We've given out all the plays. Anyone have objection to getting out of here?
No, but I have decided I want to make it my new thing that every time we're on a show together, I'm going to ask weather-related questions to learn more about meteorology from you. And it'll be a fun little tidbit.
I'm a good source.
I'm totally not going to do that. Just going to throw it.
Yes, that's fine. You don't have to, but you are welcome to. And that goes for anybody in the chat. I am literally always available if you have any weather-related questions. With that, we're going to get on out of here. This is our first crunch time of the day. We're going to be back for another one later tomorrow. Quick question, Cheese, Fanduel, Alonso, or Smith?
Alonso.
There you go. We got another crunch time for the 3-game night slate coming up. So be sure you're hanging out with us. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe. For Cheese, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. We will catch you later today. You have been crunched.